this afternoon. I hope you've availed yourself of the refreshments in the back. Always take advantage of whenever the student associations like this have events, because they always have very good refreshments. That's never to be underestimated. Thank you to the Student Association for having me here. I think intercultural and interfaith dialogue is, I'll say this again before we finish here today, but I think it's one of the chief challenges of our time, of our era, and it's something that we have to give ourselves to. And so I'm always inspired when I see student groups at various campuses around the country taking that on as an issue and working among themselves to create that. So I'm very inspired by that. I just want to speak for just a little while, just a short time. I was asked to come and speak about this book that I've written, and so just sort of share with you from my heart. I don't have anything formal presented. I don't want to give you a lecture or anything. I mean, that's boring. So I just want to share with you from my heart about what sort of went on, what goes on for me when I think about the issues that are in this book and what I was trying to accomplish, what I am trying to accomplish, and why. And then I would like to hear your comments or questions or anything that you have, and then we'll just go from there. The book is called A Dialogue of Civilizations, which is, this huge title, right? Nothing modest in that, a dialogue of civilizations, and it's only about that thick, so I don't have too much to say about it. It's a quick read, you can put it that way. But the book really, for me, it comes at the intersection of three main things, personally and professionally, in my life. And I think it's appropriate for me to share with you what those are, because whenever you read a book or you hear a lecture or you read an article, or from anyone really, but particularly a scholar like I am, I think it's important for you to know what's in the background, what's driving that person, what has brought them to that place that they write that, because that's important, that's informative of what's really going on between the lines in a way, if you will, in the terms of a book. So three things here. I guess first of all would be the 18 years or so that I have spent teaching in universities, teaching in the area of my specialty. Like so many of you who are getting PhDs or you have them, or master's degrees, you have, the further you go, the more specialized you get. And it becomes increasingly narrow, especially in the humanities and the social sciences. And so my area is philosophy of religion. And within that, there's a subset, and within that, there's a subset, and you just keep getting more and more narrow, so that by the time you write your dissertation, which becomes your first big book, there's really only about 9 other people who can read it, or who understand anything about it, because it's so specialized. So I, like everyone else who gets a PhD in religious studies, had my area of specialty, but then when I began teaching 18, 20 years ago, I found myself teaching often the big survey courses in world literature, world philosophy, world religions, what we affectionately call Plato to NATO type courses, where you begin 30,000, however many thousands of years ago, and you run roughshod all over everything until you end up, with Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech in 1 semester, or 2 semesters. And so no one has a specialty in that. So, I mean, you have to just learn how to teach that, and you learn how to be a generalist. You're trained in education to be a specialist, but in the teaching, I've learned to be a generalist. So I think now I'm a specialist at being a generalist. And I like that. I've learned so much over the last almost 2 decades now of this type of teaching. I appreciate being able to see the forest. It's important to be able to see the trees and the leaves on the trees and the little tiny designs on the leaves, but it's also important to be able to step out and see the forest, see the larger picture, and see the different connections. And so what I do in this book, which I'll speak a little bit more in depth about in a moment, is take ideas from thinkers, writers, philosophers from very different places, very different centuries, very different cultural starting points, and try to put them into a conversation together. And I don't think I would have been able to even think of doing that, much less accomplish it, if I have in the book, without those many years of teaching these courses with these huge, big, overarching themes. There's a certain way of thinking that comes with that, and I think it's valuable. A second thing that influences me in writing this is my own personal experience with the transnational community of people inspired by the ideas of a Turkish scholar named Fethullah Gulen. The subtitle of the book is Gulen's Islamic Ideas and Humanistic Discourse. So Fethullah Gulen is about 70 years old. He lives here in the United States now, has for 10 years. And he has been a state licensed preacher, Islamic teacher and preacher in Turkey for